No one expected this when the Toronto Raptors acquired RJ Barrett last trade deadline, as now Darko Rajaković is using him at the point guard position during training camp. And this has serious implications on some other players on the roster and how the Raptors are going to play. So we'll break down all of that, including some updates in regards to availabilities for the start of preseason, the start of training camp. Raptors basketball is coming back, and I couldn't be more excited. So lots of stuff to really sink our teeth into. But before we dive into any of that, again, Toronto Raptors basketball is returning, so make sure if you want to stay up to date with everything regarding this team, you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing that's going on with this team. But let's dive into the news, because we have a very surprising update in regards to RJ Barrett, who is obviously the guy in the Toronto Raptors who acquired at last year's trade deadline and really surprised a lot of people with his performance in the second half of the season. It was a guy, he's just a filler piece, he's a bad contract, not a positive asset for the Toronto Raptors. Well, all of that is looking like a bunch of fibs right now from what we saw from RJ Barrett, at the end of the Toronto Raptors season, especially for what he was providing out there for Team Canada. But one thing that really shocked a lot of people in terms of RJ Barrett's game, in terms of RJ Barrett's skill set, was his ability to pass last season. And frankly, he didn't have a lot of targets to pass to, given the fact this entire team was really injured. And a lot of the games RJ Barrett was playing with the Toronto Raptors, his targets were a lot of guys that were younger players, developing players, G League players, trying to make their way in the NBA. And even with that said, RJ Barrett was still able to create a ton of shots for these different guys. And Darko Rajaković must have saw that, must have watched some of the film during Olympic action as well. And now, essentially, we got news coming out that's saying that RJ Barrett is getting all the reps right now at the point guard position in simulated crunch time inter-squad scrimmages. He made some excellent passes throughout the scrimmage. And this is something that surprised, I remember Knicks fans coming out in our comment section, talking to Chris down at Knicks Digest, saying, the passing is kind of their potential, but he can be a bit of a bull in a china shop, driving to the rim, knocking things over. He does do that at times, but it wasn't regarded as passing as being an elite part of his game. But RJ Barrett really last season improved in that area. Still only 3.3 assists per night, but also averaged 20 points per game, 5.4 rebounds. Was just a real beast for the Toronto Raptors. And is only 24 years old here now at this point. Shot 36% from the three-point line, which is a huge positive. But you can see specifically the jump in passing from when he joined the Toronto Raptors last season. Basically, his passing rate all went up, and even with an extended usage rate, the turnover percentage didn't go up a crazy amount. You can see the assist percentage went from 12.8% with the New York Knicks to essentially being, what's that number right there? 18.5%. So that's like very, very significant increase from when he was with the Knicks to with the Toronto Raptors, getting role differences, the ball in his hands a lot more often. So RJ Barrett's proving that he can be that focal point of the offense that can really swing the ball around. But why on earth would the Toronto Raptors do this? Why would this make sense for the team, given the fact that they just gave a massive contract to a guy in Immanuel Quickley to, be the point guard of the future for this Toronto Raptors team? Why would just making these moves in terms of what's going on? I don't know what buttons I'm pressing here now at this point, but why would you do that? Well, we're specifically looking at crunch time settings, crunch time positions, and what's really valuable at those moments of the game. Floor spacing. And yes, RJ Barrett has certainly improved his three-point shooting, but no one would accuse him of being a better shooter than Immanuel Quickley. And IQ is a guy that, yes, is going to be this team's starting point guard, is going to be this team's full-time point guard, all that type of stuff. But IQ is one of the best shooters out there in the entire NBA in terms of spot ups at the guard position and stuff. So if you can have that extra floor spacing late in games with RJ Barrett capable of making those passes, drawing in defenses, and then the floor spacing provided by Immanuel Quickley above the break or in the corners or something like that, that at certain points, that at certain times might be very, very valuable for the Toronto Raptors to capitalize in on. And frankly, is kind of a smart move to get reps for RJ Barrett at those different positions. So it is a big positive for this team. So I think that's sort of some of the philosophy. Again, it's not going to be any major change, but one thing I do find interesting, and another sort of, because I think IQ has no issues in terms of role, roster, anything like that, but what RJ Barrett playing more point guard position does impacts the role of a Davion Mitchell. Obviously, the guy we acquired via trade at the start of the summer for Jalen McDaniels. And basically, we acquired him to be that backup point guard for this team. We haven't really had a stable backup point guard for a long while. And Davion Mitchell, again, has been able to knock down shots. He's been able to do some different things over his career, but couldn't find his footing with the Sacramento Kings, but is regarded as one of the best on-ball defenders in the entire NBA. But RJ Barrett moving to point guard does have an impact in regards to the available minutes at that point guard position. So maybe Darko Rajaković on top again. These clutch settings, giving the ball in RJ Barrett's hands, letting him run, make some passes and stuff like that, is also hedging his bets a little bit in regards to a Jamal Shead or a Davion Mitchell really stepping up at that backup point guard position and being a relied upon piece for this team. Again, Davion Mitchell is still young. He's still an interesting player, but isn't like a rookie by any stretch. He has had his opportunities in the NBA, but still is looking like a development piece in this Raptors organization. But Davion Mitchell seems to be the backup point guard right now, but if things don't really work out, or there needs to be settings where RJ Barrett needs to be the PG, getting him reps, getting him stuff is a positive. Do I think he's going to be the full-time PG for the Toronto Raptors? I doubt that. I think IQ is still going to be that more natural point guard. That's his position. We saw IQ be a phenomenal facilitator and for moments, for stretches last season as well. But are we going to see RJ Barrett with the ball in his hands during important possessions, during this season? I think that's a given. I think that's something that should be worked on, should be repped out. So shout out to RJ Barrett, putting on a show out there at McGill University. My alumni stats there, the team. Toronto Raptors came out and got some inter-squad action out there on the court that I used to play intramural basketball on. All I'm saying, I'm challenging Darko Rajaković. I'm challenging Masai Ujiri to take out my intramural team that we'll put back together. Me and Jack Beatty out there in Courtside Digest. We'll be out there cooking these guys. But that's not the only bit of news we have before we sort of finish this one off, as we do have an update in regards to the injury situation for the first preseason game for the Toronto Raptors, as Scottie Barnes won't play tomorrow. It's just too soon after joining the team. Immanuel Quickley, thumb precaution, won't play either. In addition to Bruce Brown and Jakob Poeltl, who are both dealing with injuries right now throughout training camp. Garrett Temple is a to be determined, so a game time decision. And Jamal Shead should be good. He ended up getting knocked around at practice, so didn't play in the inter-squad scrimmage out there at the McGill court. But nobody will play more than 20 to 22 minutes. So again, it's going to be exciting to see Toronto Raptors basketball return. It's going to be exciting to see all the new faces that we have on this roster, how this sort of group is going to end up really working together and playing, getting out there on the basketball court. Because frankly, I think this is one of the most unpredictable seasons coming this year. I wouldn't be shocked if this team ends up being, tanking and being one of the worst teams in the NBA, just given the lack of depth, question marks, young youth, all that kind of stuff. But I also wouldn't be shocked, especially with how strong our starting lineup is, if we do get some players step up off the bench, whether it could be really anyone. Jamal Shead, a DJ Carton, we could get a Brandon Carlson, who apparently played really well in those inter-squad games, and Ochai Agbaji, who apparently played really well in those games as well. I mean, we do have Bruce Brown, we do have Gradey Dick, who's in the starting lineup. We really have a bunch of unknowns on this roster, and unknown positions as well, with RJ Barrett, Davion Mitchell, all these types of guys. So I wouldn't be shocked if this team does surprise a lot of people. So excited to see this Toronto Raptors team, this Toronto Raptors basketball squad, actually get out there on the basketball court and face off and get some action out there on the court, rather than just speculate, talk about it all off season. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about all the latest Toronto Raptors news. You guys have been saying this far. Subscribe to the channel. I'm signing out. Cheers.